I'm Amber Davies and welcome to Call to Stage. This is the space where musical theatre takes centre stage. From unforgettable backstage stories with incredible special guests to insights from my life and my theatre journey. We're leaving it all on the mic every single week, so let's jump in. Hi guys, welcome back to Call to Stage with me, Amber Davies. I have royalty sitting next to me. You're not going to believe it. I'm honestly so grateful that you're here. It's the incredible Ruthie Henshall.
How can you call me royalty? You've worked with me.
I know. We're going to tick that off straight away. Can you believe it? Me and Ruthie did 9 together in concert.
We did. And I thought I was fairly badly behaved. Backstage, maybe.
But that was the best thing about it. There was a group of women, we were all working together, and I was just talking to Ruthie about working with Rachel Tucker, saying, don't work with your idols just in case they're not very nice. Rachel's amazing. And I was scared to work with you because I just thought, I'm working with Ruthie Henshall, life's peaking in this moment, and you were so misbehaved that it made me love you 10 times more. I couldn't do a long-running contract with you because I feel like we'd get in trouble.
We would seriously get in trouble.
I know.
I mean, I find it very, very difficult. I'm a bit like Judi Dench's got a reputation for being a bit of a giggler, and I am. But, it was a beautiful bunch of women. And I have to say, Amber, I have come across very few people in musical theatre, leading women, who are not just gorgeous.
Aww.
I think it's that awful kind of misconception that we're all in competition and jealous of each other. And it's not that. We all know what it is to be a leading lady. And part of your job is to look after a company and to make sure it's happy. For me, that is. But also, if you've got an ego, that will filter into the company.
Correct.
And makes for unhappy company.
Yeah.
And there should be no egos in this business because this is an awful thing to say, we are all replaceable.
Yeah, correct.
But the thing is that doesn't mean that you don't have a special talent. Mm-hmm. But there is always somebody else who can do that job because we prove it year after year when people take over roles.
Yeah.
So there's always someone. What I have found is the people who make it are less likely to have an ego than the people who want to make it and haven't. That's what
I think. And it shows with you. You're a perfect example of this. The kinder you are, the longer your career will be.
I totally agree because I don't think, especially in musical theatre, we don't put up with bad eggs because there's always some fabulous queen who will literally tear a strip off them. Or, a couple of times in my companies, I've taken somebody aside and said, look, honey, you are making an atmosphere in your dressing room and you can't bring that stuff in.
Olive branch. You olive branched them.
I did. Yeah.
I like that. And you handed them your knowledge.
You have to learn, and you learn. I understudied a gorgeous lady called Claire Moore, and the first time I went on as her understudy, she had left me a bouquet of flowers, champagne in the fridge, and she'd left me a recorder with a note chart so that I could get my top note to make sure it was there. And I never forgot that. There's no need to treat anybody any differently in a cast. We're all in it together. And for me, the ensemble is the work. They're the workhorses.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. We have a Greyhounds at the minute in Gatsby. They're on stage basically the whole show compared to everybody else,
I just went and saw Hadestown with our gorgeous Victoria Hamilton Barrett, who we were in 9 with.
We're in love with.
Completely in love. Another gorgeous leading lady.
Yeah.
And the ensemble in that, you know, I said, they don't half have to work hard. So does everybody in it, because then
They don't need the stage.
No.
I thought so. I haven't seen it yet. I need to go. I need to see Victoria.
They need to cut 20 minutes out of the second half.
Do they?
Yeah, big time. But
I love that.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but it is definitely there's about a 15-minute, 20-minute chunk right near the end that's kind of we're already there in our minds.
Okay.
So we don't need 2 more solos and and another number.
Okay.
Just that. That's my observation.
Well, I can't wait for you to come and see Gatsby, because then I want you to give an honest review like that to me.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Promise. Now, pick any role you've played in your career. Have you had any real quirky rituals before going on?
Not before I go on. I'm dreadful. You're lucky if I warm up. If there's a company warm up, great. I get into character when the music starts. For me, that's part of it. You know, the on-track starts, and that's when I'm in it.
You're in that world.
I'm in that world. And the only sort of ritual that I have is when I leave a show. And I will always go onto the stage once the ghost light is there. And I will say thank you to the theatre for having me, and hope that, you know, all the ghosts that are in there might have dropped a bit of fairy dust on me, like, you know.
That is so beautiful. We haven't had anything like that.
It's my church.
Wow.
The theatre is my church. I've always said that. It's where I understand that there is a sort of power greater than all of us, because I never understood what we did on a stage and how it affected people. You're on a stage, you think, I'm lucky to be here, I'm lucky to be doing this for a living, and you don't understand what it does to people. And I experienced it with Kristen Chenoweth.
Wow.
I was doing a show with her in New York, and I sat in the auditorium watching her doing a scene and a song, and it moved me so much, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is why we do musical theatre. This is why we do it, because it does affect people, and it is important. And for me, it's 2.5 hours where I don't have to think about anything else. And I think it's the same for the audience.
Yeah.
So everybody's in this make-believe world for 2.5 hours, and it's joyous in the world that we live in now.
I love... Oh, my gosh. I want to have you on every week. Also, Ruthie's voice, your voice is so calming and therapeutic. Has anybody ever told you that?
No, not at all.
Oh, my gosh. Like ASMR.
No. Oh, my daughter listens to that
Does
to go
she?
to bed, yeah.
Say to your daughter, I got told my voice today was like ASMR. She'd be like, go on, Mum.
Well, I did used to sing them to sleep when they were young.
Do they know how lucky they are? People pay for that, Ruthie. I love that. So you trained at Lane.
I did.
You're a Laney.
I was a Laney and I went in 1983. You weren't even born. And I left in 1986. And in my year, there was only 28.
Oh my gosh.
And there was no musical theatre course. It was a purely dancers course.
Oh, was it?
Mm-hmm. But Miss Lane introduced the course, musical theatre. She did lots of it anyway. She loved singing. She loved all of that. And then she introduced this sort of, musical theatre course in the 3rd year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was full-on dance every single day. We only had about one drama lesson a week and a shared singing lesson, which was about half an hour.
Where did you discover your voice? When? Like, do you know what I mean?
It was a really fortuitous moment, because I went to a grammar school that had a music teacher and a drama teacher who every year used to write a musical.
Okay.
And that was where it really came about, and the musical director who wrote all the music really championed me. But the first time was when I was in primary school, and the the headmistress, she said to my dad when I was 11, she heard me singing I was playing a shepherd. Yeah. That
was your debut.
Nativity, as it is for all of us. And she said, I think Ruth ought to go to some kind of stage school. I think she's got something. And my father said to me, if you still feel the same at 16, I will support you wholeheartedly, and I will pay for your ballet classes and all of that up till then, but you may change your mind. And I wanted to go. You won't remember, you'll remember one of these. You'll know her because she's a legend. Bonnie Langford.
Mm-hmm. Worked with Bonnie.
Yeah. And Lena Zavaroni, who died of anorexia.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really sad. And she was amazing. And they were both I think it was it Italia Conti or something? And I was like, no, that's where I'm going. I need to go there, Daddy. I need to go there. And he said, when you're 16, I will send you off to college. And then we had a dance teacher in my school as well called Mrs. Tapp. Would you believe?
Would you believe?
And she'd always know when I was getting in trouble. It was like she would come round the corner at exactly the right time. But they nurtured me. And, you only have to be nurtured at school in that way, which is, everybody's got a teacher, haven't they, that they go, oh, it was her or him. Yeah. But, the government is cutting out all those things slowly, all the arts.
I know.
And not all of us are, mathematicians or, can do all that stuff.
And can I ask as well, you mentioned in your year there was 28 of you. How do you think it's beneficial for schools, for example, Erdang, Arts Ed, who have now 100+ students in every single year? Do you think that's... What's your take on that?
Well, I... 2 years ago now, I opened RH Cast, which is a degree course for musical theatre training. We only take 25. That was one of the reasons we only take 25 per year. People get lost.
Yeah.
And unless you're one of those people who can push themselves to the front...
Which not many people are.
No, and also there's favouritism, all of that going on. You cannot give 150 people, which is what some of them are taking.
Yeah.
And there's so many coming out into the business that are not prepared for it. There are some great colleges out there, don't get me wrong. But it's like, we're giving them a side hustle as well, because you've got to have, it's a lot. If you want a long career, you are self-employed. You'd better have something that runs alongside.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Because it's not, very rarely, especially as you get older, it doesn't run alongside.
No.
Jobs don't dovetail.
Oh, they don't. Trust me, they don't.
They just don't. And so you are, you're either earning or you're not. You're either working or you're not. And there needs to be something else.
And also I just feel like in between, you work and you think, oh, I've made it.
Yeah.
I've made it. I'm on a UK tour, I'm on the West, I'm on the Fringe, wherever. Then you have your drop off where you're auditioning again. And we underestimate how much that affects your mental health.
Unbelievably
I know.
so.
So I feel like having a side hustle, and it is so good for your mind.
And a passion. It's got to be a passion. But we we are all, I think, in, that sort of, what do they call it, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So when you're working, you feel like you're in the crowd, in the gang. And then when you're not working, it feels like you'll never work again.
I know.
And you've just been a lucky girl.
Yeah.
And as you get older, Amber, the roles are not as many.
Frequent, yeah.
They're not as frequent. That is fact. And I feel like I've been in the abyss for a little bit, which is too old to play mothers, but too young to play grandmothers. So there's been this sort of abyss that I've been in. And I'm just very fortunate that I have a visibility, that I can get in the room. Or there have been many times when I've been lucky enough, and I'm sure it's happened to you, to be offered stuff.
Yeah.
And that is a privilege.
It is a massive privilege.
Because auditioning is vile. It's utterly, it never gets any easier.
And for me, it's the worst part about this industry. I'm not my true authentic self when I'm in the room.
No, nobody is.
No.
Nobody is. We, and I think the people behind the desk, you see, they can smell if you're desperate.
Yes. They can.
Know it. And there's nothing more unattractive to anybody in this world, not just music, not just theatre.
Yeah.
Than somebody being needy or desperate. Let's just think about relationships. As soon as they become needy or desperate, they're unattractive.
The door's wide open for them.
Bye-bye.
What would you say then for our listeners? What would be your Ruthie's top tip for an audition?
Gosh, that's an interesting one. Well, you've got to grab their attention from the very beginning. So don't come in really, softy. You can go softy, throughout it. But actually, grab their attention somehow, because they've got all those things on their desk with other people's photographs. They might be talking between themselves. That's your 5 minutes to grab their attention. And know your stuff. If they've asked you to learn something, learn it song-wise, because otherwise you're never going to perform at your best. That being said, I think it is very unfair, some of the audition processes that go on. I do. Like I heard about a chorus line and how the ensemble were auditioning one day for the dancing, and then the next day they had to come in with their own written, they had to write it themselves.
I heard about this.
Monologue.
Yeah.
And it had to be learnt. And this isn't, about 2/3 of them got cut. So only 1/3 of them got to do their monologue. Don't be knobs.
Yeah,
Just
I know.
don't
It's
be
taking
knobs.
the PISS.
Yes, because it costs a lot for people to get into auditions. It's
Travel.
It's, time spent learning, time spent...
And they could have been on a shift somewhere in the morning, in the evening. They haven't had time to write. I know. It's such a difficult... And yet we do it because we love it.
Absolutely.
Now oh my gosh, okay guys, are you ready for this? I'm not going to name everything you've done, but I'm going to name a few things. Firstly, I want to say your debut in a show was Maggie in the UK tour of Chorus Line. Was that straight out of college?
No, straight out of college was Clacton summer season.
Oh, was it?
Got my equity card. My provisional equity card, because back then you used to have an equity card. So you had to have 10 weeks, which you could only get if you did something provincial. And then you had to have 20 weeks to do a West End show.
What?
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So you could never be in the West End without an equity card.
Oh, wow.
And then it all went tits up somehow. And I believe that's when I was the poster girl for Equity.
Were you?
My poster was everywhere going, join Equity.
Oh, we love that.
Me and Judi Dench, yeah.
Casual.
Casual. And
me and Jude's.
Yeah, Jude and I were trying to encourage people, but then you had to. And as they stopped that, you know, you didn't have to be an Equity member and all that, wages went down. Equity had no power. People weren't joining it, and therefore, you know, we have a union that's fairly ineffectual.
Do you still believe that now?
Yeah, I do. I think they're getting a handle on the West End.
Yes.
But touring productions
are falling short.
They're going, you know, Ensemble are going out for 500 quid a week.
I know.
Don't be so, that's disrespectful.
I know. Giving them £300 a week for accommodation.
Yeah.
How
you can't get anywhere for £300 a week.
Nowhere decent.
No.
Nowhere to actually put your head down and have a good recovering night's sleep.
Well,
you know.
Well, that's for, isn't it for accommodation and food?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, because you have to eat out.
Yeah.
Because you can't, you know, very rarely can you get a place with a kitchen.
Nope. Not for £300
a week with food. So a lot needs to change. I mean, when I was in Miss Saigon, in the ensemble, I was earning £350 a week. That was in 1989. That's how little things have changed. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that crazy?
It's nuts.
And that the thing is, it's the same thing. We do it because we love it.
Yeah. And there's always someone who will say yes.
I know. And that's the problem.
The only way things would change, and I would never suggest this, but would be if every single performer went on strike.
I know. It has been spoken about before, hasn't it?
That's the only thing that will work. Look at the writers' strike.
Yeah.
But we won't dare, because if the producer only en masse, you know, because the producers, you'd get labelled as a troublemaker.
I know.
You know.
See, and you've worked so hard. You want to make a difference, but you don't want to
shaft yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's our livelihood.
Yeah. And so your West End debut was Cats.
My West End debut was Cats. That's right. I was a little moggy and I played the whole litter virtually.
Did you?
I was Jemima, but I understudied about 6 other cats.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So do you have a good brain for that? Did you back then?
Yes. I was, you know, and this is a dirty word for a woman, but because I was always called, oh, she's ambitious. You know, and I was. I didn't want to be in the back. I wanted to be at the front. So for me, it was about getting there. I mean, I rang up Cameron's office when I was in the ensemble of Miss Saigon, and I said, please let me understudy Kim, please. And they said, you can't. You can't. You're not Asian. You're not, you know, please, I'll do it for free. That was me.
Okay. So let's just talk what Ruthie's done. You did the world premiere cast of Miss Saigon, taking over the role as Ellen.
Yeah.
And then you went to Broadway with it, and you were the last Ellen on Broadway.
Yeah.
Iconic.
With Lea Salonga. So I started with Lea Salonga and I finished with Lea Salonga. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Fantine and Les Mis, and you also did the 10th anniversary concert, which was filmed. Crazy for You, you were Polly, and you were Olivier Award nommed for that. Casual. And then you did She Loves Me at the Savoy, and you won the Olivier that year, 1995.
4, I think it was. Or was it 95?
It was 5.
Was it really?
It was 95. Do you know how I know that? Because you won the Olivier the year before I was born.
No. Oh, that's just, oh my Lord.
I was just a mere thought,
You
Ruthie.
were a mere thought.
I was a mere thought.
We didn't know what was coming, did we? We didn't know that Amber was coming and going to change the landscape.
Winning the Olivier, how much did that mean to you?
It meant enormous amounts because I was that girl who wanted to be the lead. I wanted to be in the front. To me, being nominated when I was that age was just like, well, I want to win. And I think everybody does, really.
Yeah.
We're all happy to be nominated, but I think lots of us would like to win. But it's a wonderful feeling because you're nominated with your peers and it's an evening full of peers.
Yeah.
But who's to say who's the best performance?
I know.
It's so hard.
I know, but do you know what's so lovely? You've sat here and you said how much growing up you were, as you said, ambitious. And the fact you went from covering to then leading a show and being that leading lady, and you won the Olivier. And that inner child, imagine how excited she would have been knowing that you were going to be an award-winning actress, Olivier Award-winning. You know how beautiful that is?
I have to say that I would say I had a lot of drive. And I just knew what I wanted. And that little girl is proud. But I very rarely acknowledge it because it's very different. It's very different. It's only when I do something like this or when I got an honorary degree from a university and they read out some stuff and they'd spoken to Cameron and they'd spoken to Angelo Weber and I thought I really heard what I'd done. It was like, wow, I could give it up tomorrow and
be happy.
Would be all right. Yeah. And I don't think we ever acknowledge, because we're always having to reinvent. We're always having to look ahead and say, okay, what's next? Because we never have a stable job.
No.
So it is.
Oh my gosh, Ruthie, do you know what you should do? This is what I do. When I'm in between jobs and I think I have that moment of I'm never going to work again, I write down the things that I've achieved in my life so far. And I think, hang on, I need to just be grateful that I've done that.
Yes.
I mean, your life is like a little girl's dream,
It's a lovely thing to say.
It is. And you're so normal and and it's actually lovely to hear that you still worry about what's to come.
Yes.
And you are at your stature,
Well, we don't ever retire, do we?
Never.
Because there's always just that little something, or there isn't a retirement age.
No.
And I still get excited by things. I still like doing 9 with you. That week was so much fun.
Moving on quickly, we've got 5 minutes, so I'm just going to literally... Okay, you won the Olivier for She Loves Me. Nancy, Olivia Palladium.
Yeah.
Was that a big tick moment?
Oh, yeah.
You are Nancy. If anyone was Nancy, it's you.
Oh, it was just a joy.
You've done quite a lot of Chichester Festival Hall. One of them was Divorce Me, Darling.
Yes, that was a sequel to The Boyfriend. And we had to talk terribly. It was all like, oh, darling, shall we go down to the promenade? Yeah, that was lots of fun.
Roxie Hart in Chicago, which you got Olivier nommed for. Then you did Velma on Broadway. And then you came back to town years later to play Mama Morton.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard on the grapevine that you were the only actress in the world to play all 3 characters.
I'm not the only actress in the world. I'm the only actress in England. The only other actress who's done it is, oh my goodness, the one who was the original Velma on Broadway.
Ah, I'm terrible with names.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the only actress in England.
Yes.
Love
There's only
that.
2 of us who've ever done that. One
Wow.
at that side of the pond and one me this side, yeah.
And did you love, because you've done more Broadway, Putting It Together, Broadway, Emma in The Other Woman, Stairway to Paradise, Broadway.
Yeah.
Difference between Broadway and West End?
It's cultures.
Yeah.
Because the Americans are a completely different culture. I mean, I went over there, and the first time I performed in front of an audience, I was like, what's going on here? Because we are, as a culture, jolly good, aren't we? Well,
yeah.
Jolly good. Yes, it's very nice. And over there, they're like, wow!
They are.
So it was a complete culture shock and a joy, because they also really revere musical theatre.
Yeah.
Really revere it. You can get a table anywhere if you are in a Broadway show. Not quite the same here.
No. Would you do Broadway again?
In a heartbeat, but I had to. I had a green card.
Okay.
As an alien of extraordinary ability. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. AEA. I thought I was going to put after my name, and I had to surrender it, unfortunately.
Oh.
Because I wasn't living there, and they kept catching me not living there, and you have to spend 6 months or more there.
Okay.
And so they said, you can either surrender it and you can apply for it again, and or we will take it off you and you will never get it again. And right now, I don't have a spare 10 grand.
No, I know. I was just about to say that. Have you got a spare 10 grand? Because that's what a green card costs. And you've got 2 beautiful daughters anyway who need you.
Oh, yes. They've just gone off to uni. Oh, my Lord, the house is quiet.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are my life. I would, if something happened to them, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just...
You were born to be a mum, weren't you?
I always wanted to be. Apparently, when I was 19 years old, I like to look after companies. That's why I like to, look after people. And when I was 19 years old, I said to my best mate back then, when I have a baby, I'm going to call my first baby Lily. And that's what I did. And it was really unfashionable back then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was an old person's name. Oh. And then I named her Lily, and it was the name of the year.
Oh.
Lily May, Lily Rose, Lily... Lily.
Lily Millie. How old were you when you had your first?
36.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love that for you. Thank you.
Did what I wanted to do. Then I couldn't think of anything other. I walked... Isn't this great? I walked away from a TV show in New York. I'd been given a TV show, and all I wanted to do was have babies. So I just said no, and I walked away. Who knows what my life would have been? And my agent went to the airport to try and stop me. He said, there's a huge opportunity, huge. What are you doing?
You just knew.
And I said, I don't want anything more than I want a baby now. And
I love that. That makes me want to cry. Quick few more. Peggy Sue, which you got nommed for. Peggy Sue got married and you were Peggy Sue. What is this?
Marguerite.
Yeah. And you were Olivier nommed for that as well. What is this show?
It is based on Lady of the Camille.
Okay. I need to do my research on it because I thought, I've never heard of this show in my life.
Listen to the music. It's beautiful. It's Michel Legrand. And Alan Bublé wrote the lyrics, and also Claude Michel Schoenberg was involved, and it was an honour.
Okay. That's mine and the listeners' job tonight, to listen to the music of Marguerite.
It was a beautiful, beautiful show, but Northern Rock collapsed and nobody was going to the theatre. It was the same when Peggy Sue got married. That deserved a run, but 9/11 happened and nobody was flying. And Children of Eden, that book needed work. Mm-hmm. Something happened then. There was a war in Falklands War.
Yeah.
Was it Falklands War? And it, same thing again. So we are so susceptible in the theatre to what's going on because it's whether people are going to spend money or not to come and see the theatre, and it's now far too expensive.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Well, thank you so much for listening, guys. If you're a Patreon listener, Ruthie will be answering some of your questions, so sit tight. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.